Tell me what you see when you look at me. Do you see another brother lost in these streets looking for his soul?
Trying to find my soul.
Or do you see another brother searching for lost souls in these streets? A street soldier.
Street soldier.
Here to help you get that chip off your shoulder, warm your colder days and sober your drunken ways, and find a way to help you get over these hurdles placed in our path. And this is not meant to amuse you. This is for all those who have questions but are afraid to ask.
I won't be afraid. I won't be afraid. No. When times get hard, you lose your way. Open your mind and hear what I say.
This is a message for the hard and the soft. To those who tune in weekly and to those who keep an eye out for 8 p.m. on Sundays and turn their radios off. The truth hurts. The cloth has been pulled. We're walking around half dead. Use this show as your IV. Alive and Free is a new movement. We've achieved self-destruction. A street soldier promotes self-improvement.
Streets couldn't be no colder, so I gotta be a soldier. It shouldn't be this hard for me. Even when it seems so hopeless, I gotta keep my focus. I'm glad to be alive and free, yeah. Streets couldn't be no colder, so I gotta be a soldier. It shouldn't be this hard for me. Even when it seems so hopeless, I gotta keep my focus. I'm glad to be alive and free, yeah.
We're gonna kick off year number 35 with a show on Women's History Month dedicated to women. I love the title, Women Speak About Women. I like that. And almost everybody here in the house has been to the club or been around the club and has probably actually had this conversation, in class at one time or another. But when I was talking to somebody and I said, I got to get this thing done. And I was talking to one Evangela Brewster. Is Evangela there? Where's Evangela? Wait a minute, Look, I'm gonna tell you let me tell you what Evangela said. I'm about to whoop her. So Evangela's like, she's texting me all day, seriously. Hey doc, at 3:30, she texted me. Yes, dear. I'm excited about tonight. Should be good. See you. Okay, very good. And then she ain't here. Where is Evangela?
All right, she's making her appearance right now.
Because she's the one that gave me the idea, and then she gave me the lineup. She started naming people. Oh, so she gave me a list, and I just started pressing buttons. And who we have here tonight is, and so if this doesn't work, Evangela's fault. Don't blame me. Y'all jump on Evangela, okay? All right. All right, in the house we have, and raise your hand, ladies, Dr. Janelle Tay Green. There she is. All right. Dr. Daija Foster. Daija here yet? Daija's hidden there. Where's Daija? I saw her name, but I don't see her.
I'm here. I'm having technical difficulties.
I hear the voice. All right. We have Dr. Cassie Marshall. Familiar name, people. Marshall. Okay. All right. We have Andrea Beasley. Andrea. We have Ashley Blanco. We have Malorie Brewster. Where's Malorie? There she is. By the way, Malorie, I want you to know you were the first name Evangela suggested. I mean, she loved all of y'all, but she put her sister first, okay? And Jyairrah Martin from the college prep class. Jyairrah, you're representing the young ladies here tonight. Okay. All right, here we go. Thank all of you for joining us. I love you. Where's Mrs. Phil? Lady Phil, where are you? I see a name.
I'm right here, Dr. Marshall.
Okay, well, I got, you know how you say to the class, you gotta be on camera, I gotta see you. There you are. See, you did that on purpose. I'm back.
No.
You can't be missing.
My computer has its own personality. I push the button, it pushes back. Hey,
okay, so
lady.
You got the pearl backdrop.
That's right. I had another one.
So Green, you see the pearl back? You see that? She got that? She got the pearls going? I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. And I know why. Maybe you can explain why. Okay, here we go. Women's History Month. You are helping us set it off for this month. And we had a great discussion. Jyairrah was there Tuesday about, as we opened our March, a conversation about women as we do every year at the club. So we want to begin this by talking about women that you admire and have been influenced by. And I know Mama's gonna come up a lot, and that's fine. Add others, because I understand Mom is, if you ask me, she would be first, Grandma would be second, but feel free to add others. Women that you admire and have been influenced by, and then just tell us why. So, Evangela, since you brought this up, you decided, and Evangela already named one, she said, I got 4 or 5. So I'm gonna cut her off at 2, and then have her come back and do the others. All right, Evangela. Evangela,
Hey,
by the way, hold it, Evangela. By the way, what's that new email you got? Evangela, actor? What is this?
Evangela, the actress, or excuse me, Evangela, actor at gmail.com.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. All right, Issa Rae, go ahead. All right, go ahead.
So of course, as you said, my mom is gonna come up. Joanne Brewster, I love her. It's been hard these last 5 years without her physically. But one thing that I noticed in my life when I started paying attention is that there are other women who guide me in my life as well. Some of the stuff that my mom couldn't do, other women kind of pulled my coattail and, gave me information, i.e. my sister Malorie. But Miss Estelle is one of those people where she gonna give it to you raw and uncut, and she gonna rub your back afterwards while you crying. And he's like, okay, let's figure out this plan. She don't be playing. And Mrs. Patterson as well. Ms. Patterson we always have our little cool conversations, but she tell it like it is as well. So I said 3. All right, I'm gonna stop talking.
Oh, that's good. No, that was good. Nice start. All right, sis, you're next. Valerie Burton, good to see you. By the way, is your boy doing all right at school? Because
Yes, Armand is doing great. And just correction once again, Doc Mallory Branch. Baby name.
Tell your husband I don't mean no harm.
I know you don't mean
no harm.
That's
I'm
okay.
Brewster,
I know.
Right. All right.
This is Branch. My daddy
all right.
said.
No worries.
My daddy said when I did something, just for a second, I was in the news and I put at that time, my husband's name, it was Roberson. And so when my daddy saw the article, he said, your daddy's name is Estelle. His daddy's name is Roberson. I said, I'll take care of that. The next time I was in the news, it was Estelle Roberson. I just want to say.
I got it. You're grown. You're a little Malorie. Go ahead, honey. Women you admire and have been influenced by.
Yes. So I'll say this before I mention names. There's many women that I have encountered on my journey called life. I thank God for God placing women in my life at the right time during different seasons in my life when I needed them. So to start off with some names, my grandmother, Dorothy Brewster, she influenced me, or she's pivotal in my life because she taught me early on, don't worry, be happy, and about honesty and the importance of my word and keeping my word. My mother, definitely, she birthed me, Joanne Brewster. She taught me priceless morals and values that I cannot learn in a book.
That's right.
Many do's and don'ts were learned during my relationship with my mom while she was here on earth. May she rest in peace. My auntie Lorna Brewster, who also has passed on, but she exposed me to different environments. And I'm truly, truly grateful that she saw a light in me, and it encouraged her to continue to just take me and take me through different environments. And for that, I'm truly grateful. She saw a light in me and she wanted to keep it going, and I appreciate her for that. My 8th grade counselor, Miss Mary Ann Warnage at Luther Burbank Middle School. She let me know that I had a voice and it mattered. She ignited a flame to the fire of who I am today. And it was really pivotal, and it didn't resonate with me on how much it impacted me until graduating from Texas Southern University. I think once I moved back to California and started just reflecting, she kept popping up. So I was able to find her and thank her and tell her where I was today, but she was very vital. Dr. Okay. Yep.
Let me go through everybody and then we can come back. Because if we go through the list, the whole show will be gone. I know how it is. I got yours down. Right. Thank you, Valerie Branch. Dr. Janelle Tay Green. And see, you know what it is? She got the green up there, so I can't mess up. Right.
Right. Well, Morel was like, who is Tay? You know, he had something to say about that. But we got that worked out. Look.
How are you, honey? Thank you. How are you? Thanks for being here.
I'm happy to be here. It's good to be here amongst all these lovely women. And I, like Malorie, like I could go on and on, like I can go. But I'm going to keep it short, but I will say this. So as I was thinking about this and trying to figure out how to summarize it, the words that came to me were, the teacher will show up when the student is ready.
That's right.
And so along the way, I have had so many amazing people in my life, from close family members to people that are far reaching, that I don't even know. But right now, I'll say I have some, I guess, virtual mentors. And so the people that I will mention are, there's a woman named Valerie Burton, who has written a few books, Successful Women Speak Differently, Successful Women Think Differently. And she is a spiritual person. She motivates me and really just has encouraged me to kind of get outside my box and really know your worth. Yeah. Another woman is Cindy Trim, Dr. Cindy Trim, who is a minister, but this lady is smart. I mean, I love smart people. She talks about politics. She talks about science. I mean, everything. And so listening to her, and I try to listen to people. I give myself a prescription. So I'm a doctor. So I'm like, Morel, my husband, he'll always say, you always listening to some podcast, somebody talking, so that's me. And then the other person I would say who influences me right now that I look up to is my nutrition coach. So I just finished a 6-week nutrition class. I'm gonna get certified in plant-based nutrition. So, and she just is really encouraging and really helps me to think about the benefits of nutrition, not just weight loss and getting physically fit, but mentally. So those are the 3 women I'll summarize, but it's been a lot of women, so.
Got it, I'm writing all this down. Thank you.
Yes.
Dr. Green.
Tate-Green, Dr. Tate-Green.
No, Morel, he has a thing about you, You don't even like seeing you with pictures with other He's still trying to get that picture taken down in the club with you and Jackie in college. So yes. Understand. All right. Here is, who's this? What's your name? Dr. Cassie Marshall. Do I know you? Cassie Marshall? Hi, Dr. Marshall.
I know.
How are you?
Girl.
How you doing?
I'm good. Hi, everyone. Y'all look so beautiful. I'm so happy to be here. I put my virtual background on. So you can see I'm at UC Berkeley right now. I'm not, but this is campus. So the question was, who influenced us and inspired us?
Well, yeah, what women have inspired you that you admire and have, inspired or influenced you? Yeah, we're kind of starting there. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm not, to be honest, when I heard the question, I'm like, I feel like I'm inspired and influenced at literally every day, from all dimensions of my life. Like I was thinking a couple weeks ago, I was watching the young ladies from Lowell High School on the show, and I mean, like, mouth on the floor, just like in awe of their confidence, of their commitment, their vision. I'm like, I wish I could have been like that in high school. Oh my God. Then a couple weeks, I mean, these are a lot of show examples, but I guess because I'm on the show, then I was listening to Barriola, and when you guys were talking about love and relationships, and after the show, I texted Mrs. Still. I was like, I could listen to you talk forever. Like literally, I think I could just read the phone book, listen to, like, Friday, I was dealing with a lot of stress in my life. I was trying to manage it on my own, called my mom, and she just gave me all this advice. I was like, dang, I'm so glad I just decided to call her as I was driving. My friends looking around, managing a tough situation at work and showing up for themselves. My friend just, new mom, had a baby days ago, fighting through the sleep to hold her newborn. Like, I feel like I look around all the time and I'm just always supported. I guess it's a real blessing. There's like a web of people around that I just look around and that I know personally or don't know. And I just always feel so inspired. And I feel like that's a good sign when you look around and see people around you and you respect them, right? So yeah, everyone, all the time is my answer.
Thank you, Dr. Marshall. Thank you. Make that money good. Okay, all right. Let's go to, let's see, Andrea Beasley. What's up, Andrea? What's up?
Hi, everyone. Happy Sunday and happy Women's History Month. So excited to be here tonight.
You're a big time executive. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So, so many women, of course, when asked to, join the show, it was really hard to kind of narrow down because, as Dr. Marshall mentioned, I'm, also inspired every day by so many incredible women, and especially Black women, and one in particular that comes to mind for me is Ida B. Wells. She was just a great example of just resilience, tenacity, and just her ability to advocate for, not just women during the suffrage movement, but Black women specifically. And I think she, speaks and just shows a great example to even just this year's theme, valiant women of the vote, refusing to be silenced. Ida B. Wells was most known for her work as a political activist. She was born into slavery and one of the founding members of the NAACP, but she was also a journalist and a storyteller. And I am also a journalist, or it started off my career. I consider myself to be a storyteller, started off as a journalist and producer and transitioned over to public relations, where I'm writing. And for me, my writing is my art. I say my writing is my, a pencil, or in this case, my keyboard is my paintbrush. And so being able to tell a story through my writing, to me, is one of the most powerful experiences that I've ever been able to have, because it's not just writing for, news outlets, but even writing for some of the executives that I have written for, and being able to utilize my writing to tell stories through their lenses has been such an incredible experience for me. But I think one of the ways that I'm most inspired by her is just her, as I mentioned, resilience as a storyteller, to be able to use her voice to shed light on just different conditions that African Americans experience in the South, whether it be social, political, economic issues. She fought against, anti-lynching campaigns, workplace practices, women's rights. And what a lot of people don't acknowledge is, as much as we celebrate the feminist movement, she was one of the ones during the feminist movement that experienced discrimination, right? She's fighting on the front lines as a woman for women, right? And didn't get a chance to experience the same rights that other white women experience, right? Was told that she would have to march at the back of the line. And she said, no. She said, I'm going to march in the front or in the middle in this case with the other women from my chapter. And, I think for me, that's something that's so incredible, because it's not just, like I said, her ability as a storyteller, but her resilience, her ability to be able to push through during a time period where she wasn't accepted and she was fighting for the rights, like I said, for white women who experienced and got a chance to vote when Black women didn't get a chance to vote until decades later, right? So a lot of the benefits that we experience now, she fought for. And so I just think that that's so incredible. And like I say, I'm inspired every day because I do see just the incredible power that just being a storyteller and what that means, you know, back then and even today. So, you know, I celebrate Ida B. Wells today and every day.
Thank you. Great name. Great historical name. Dr. Foster, how you doing? Up there in that
I'm
big...
doing good.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
So, you know,
doctor, I feel like, all this education. Okay.
no, so it was really hard for me to pick just one woman, as everyone else has already mentioned. And I find myself really gravitating towards women who have already been through the doors that I'm trying to go through and to seek advice and wisdom from them. So recently I just turned 30. So for my 30th birthday, I had women who had already survived their 30s write me letters of advice, of things that they wish that they would have known at 29 going into 30, and things that they would have liked to know back then, things that they think that I should know now, you know, being someone that just got out of school and not married, without kids, and just wanting to soak in. I'm finding myself wanting to soak in all of the wisdom from people who have already lived through it. And I think that's something that we don't often talk about, or at least I noticed that I've started to do more recently, is really just trying to start up conversations with other women and allowing them to tell their stories. So I'm really interested and inspired by women who have been through something. We've all been through stuff, right? So every woman has a story. It's the women who have been through something, who have somehow healed from their traumas or have worked through something and have forgiven themselves and have now given themselves permission to live freely, that I'm really inspired by, and that they're embracing their vulnerability and just being open with how they are. And that inspires me to also be open and embrace the many different aspects of my identity and my personality. So sometimes being a doctor, you're supposed to, or at least I felt like I had to be one way. I couldn't also, you know, listen to certain music or act a certain way or dress a certain way. I had to be this one image of how I felt like society wanted me to be. So I really am inspired by women who embrace all aspects of their identity. Of course, women that are in my field and in my family. Of course, my mom, you know, Sherelle Foster, of course, she inspires me a lot too. And I think that's also part of our story. It's nice to have someone who has been somewhere I haven't been yet. You know, my mom has lupus. I have been diagnosed with lupus. So to see and lean on her for guidance when, you know, flare-ups can be bad. You know, my mentor, Dr. Valeda Jenkins Monroe, who you know, Dr. Marshall, she's my mentor, my dissertation chair. I met with her yesterday, and she inspires me too. You know, she's a Black woman in forensic psychology, and that's not an easy place to be at. So being able to lean on them for that motherly advice and guidance. And of course, Miss Estelle, she has carried me through some of my darkest days. So those would be my top 3 right now. Of course, Michelle Obama too, you know, but had to throw them in there too. They're more important to me.
So happy, there are chats coming up and they say happy belated birthday, Daija.
Oh, thank you.
Know that I still have something for you. One of the things, if I can just share with you a little bit of wisdom, time is different. As we age and as time passes, it changes its shape and its form. And so we have those things that we need to have done by a certain time. And then there are some things that the guidance, the wisdom, the information doesn't come until it's time.
Right.
And it doesn't always meet the time that we set and we plan. So the time that it came for me to give to you what you requested is now. It took me some time. And so it's coming.
I appreciate it.
I just want you to know it's on the way.
Thank you.
Wonder what it is, but I ain't supposed to know. Okay. Ashley Blanco. Ashley Cassie, the angel. Hi.
Hi, everyone. Hello. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you, Evangela, for thinking of me to be a part of this conversation. As everyone said, there are so many women that I can name, and I'm going to be brief because there's still some ladies that have to go, but one of them is my great-grandmother, Teresa Blanco, and she was a midwife. And she was a midwife in Central America. So half of my family's from Honduras and the other half from the United States. And I feel that my work as a spiritual wellness type of person is inspired by her work as a midwife. Now, I don't know all the connections between it, but I have a strong feeling that her divine work has poured into mine without my knowledge of it. My grandmother, who was a seamstress and persisted despite so many troubles, she inspired me and she prayed for my sister and me. And there's a big story behind that, and I'll share that another time. My mom, of course, how could I forget, Sylvia Emery. And what I really appreciate about her is that there are so many women that I've looked to for guidance being in different spaces, and she shared me with them. For my 30th birthday, Daija, I invited elders into our apartment and I had dinner with them. I prepared a dinner for them to show my appreciation. And they said to me what they would say to their younger selves. And the fact that she is so willing to share and not be envious or jealous, it just says so much about her. So I love her for that. And there's one woman I've adopted as my aunt. Her name is Cheryl Pendleton. And we have so much fun. When we're on FaceTime, we will laugh at each other laughing for the first 5 minutes. We just have so much fun. We really enjoy each other. So those are some women to name off the start.
I love Ashley's voice. Ashley's
Yeah.
voice.
Yeah.
You just feel like
Be
cleansed. Okay, thank you. Jyairrah, Jyairrah is in the Leadership Academy and the College Prep class. I could brag on her, but I won't. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, some women that inspire me, I would first say Alice Walker, because Alice Walker taught me that the most common way people give up their power is by thinking that they have none. Second, I would say Sonia Sanchez. She taught me that my voice is not a small voice. One of the leaders of the Black Arts Movement. I'm a spoken word poet. Assata Shakur, it is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love and respect one another. We have nothing to lose but our chains. Just all three of these women as activists, they were just resilient and growing up in Baby Hunters Point, the hood, as a writer and trying to find my voice, I really looked to them in order to find what's inside of me.
When you mentioned Assata Shakur the other day, I said I remember reading her book when I don't know if I read it after college or not, but I remember reading the book Assata. And it was just, Joanne Chesimard is her real name. And she's still a Black Panther, and still on her. She's still in Cuba. She's still in Cuba. Cannot get back into this country. But whenever you said that name, I said, man, that's a great lady, really. I mean, she is like legendary even now. And maybe one day she'll be able to come home. Maybe she don't want to come home. She just likes it where she is. Bree, we're going to get you a chance to get in here and give yours before we move on. I'm just, great hearing about all these wonderful, wonderful women.
Okay. Hi, ladies. So let's see, there's so much to add. I mean, I really have been surrounded by just beautiful Black women that have been reminding me that it's okay not to be strong all the time, especially in my late 20s, where I feel like, kind of like what Lady Estelle mentioned, that I have to have everything together because once I hit 30, that's it. No mistakes, nothing. But, the sisterhood, one, is strong. And, you know, my girlfriends and my mother and my grandmother are just teaching me that it's okay to be still. It's okay to accept, you know, good and bad things, because your resilience is way more powerful than those challenges that you're going through at that moment. And it's just okay to be free too. I feel like, you know, sometimes, especially like in the social media stage, that like Black women can't like be as like open, as free as they want to, because if they are, then they're gonna be, you know, attacked for it. And, you know, my mom, she's amazing. Like, she's just like, girl, you better go ahead and do what you need to do. Like, because regardless, I'm happy for you because you're doing it. And that's because she didn't get to do it when she was younger. So she looks at me as if like, I need you to do this because I didn't get to do that. And I want you to be the person that God created you to be, which is this, you know, adventurous, spontaneous, loving person. And then my girlfriends, you know, they back me up 100%. They support me with whatever I do. But it's just every day, like they just teach me something about myself or about them. And I just take it and I don't know, I'm an extension of everybody that I'm surrounded by.
I know you got more names. There's plenty of names, but lady, jump in at any time, because you know this is a variation of what we do in class. There are times we'd ask the names of women and called, and so on and so forth. But I know one of the questions you asked last week, qualities. I think you're saying quality. I don't know if you use the word qualities of women, or a word to describe women. And so I'm gonna throw it out there. But just qualities. Give me a word, maybe a couple words to describe them. Just women, and I don't, you know, I could call on you, but just free for all. Just jump out and give me some words to describe. This is women talking about women. So what words would you use to describe it? I guess I do have to call on people. Ashley, what word would you use?
I needed more time to think. The first word that comes up is phenomenal. And yeah, because a phenomenon, and I don't have the definition in front of me, but I just see it as if there's a visual representation, it would be a spark. And with Black women in particular, we're so versatile. And the spark has so many dimensions, and depending on from what vantage point you're viewing the spark, how close you are, how far you are, whether you're up or down or around, it's so like brilliant. It's without definition. So wow. I would say phenomenal with all of that in there.
Great word. I'm right.
I'm gonna have to go with that. I love it without definition, because I mean, we are self-controlled when we need to be, but we are that spark that will burn you up when necessary, without definition. I think that's we are warriors, we are nurturing, we are brilliant, everything when it needs to be, and calm and nothing when it's necessary.
As you say these words, I'm writing them all down. Anybody else? Daija, you got a word?
Yes, I would say resilient. I think that is something that I just, when I think of like just women, Black women, I think of resilient. You know, I think there's so many different things that are thrown at us from the workplace, at home, society, just colleagues. And we just carry so much weight on our shoulders, and it's like the swan effect. So you're just kind of grazing across the water, but underneath your legs are going crazy to keep, you know, yourself floating, but nobody else sees that. So I say resilient.
I love that. Cassie, you got one or a couple?
I agree with all of these. My mind is going to just like life, something like life-giving, or something about life, and really truly being the center of new life in many ways, not just kind of like the physical way.
Andrea?
Yeah, I would say grace. I think there's a special power that comes with being a woman. There's a sense of elegance, a sense of poise, a divine femininity that we embody, right? Our ability to be child bearers, and which is the connection to the spiritual world that male counterparts don't have, right? But I think just our grace, and I think all women have it, but I think there's a special grace about being a Black woman.
Malorie?
Okay, I have two. My first one is empowering. I feel like, and this is specific to Black women, women in general, but Black women. I feel like when I am in a room full of Black women, the power in that room is phenomenal. It is dynamic. So that is my first one. And being a Black woman unapologetically, that is my second word, because I think that, we're viewed, and someone said it earlier, we're viewed in a certain way. We have to be strong. We're unable to be vulnerable at certain times. But I think being unapologetic about who you are at whatever moment, in whatever space you're having. So yeah, we rock. That's I can go on and on, but it's something about us that can't nobody else touch. It's a Black woman, and we're powerful. So yeah, I'm gonna zip it there though. But yeah.
I am writing all of these down. Evangela.
Yeah, so I have two. But when I was thinking about them, I was thinking about women that I look up, more women that I look up to, like Mary McLeod Bethune, who literally created her own college. So the two words are motivated and determination. It's just like somebody like Stacey Abrams, who lost but kept coming. And just women who keep coming no matter what. Like everybody said, the resilience and the authenticity, like having other women, for me, having other Black women there to talk to me authentically helps me. Whether it was in college, whether it was 5th grade, like Sister Lynette, who actually is alumni from this program as well. So.
Thank you. Brianna, your word.
So I have two. One, trendsetter, because without, I mean, we're the influence, and sacred, because we're very much connected to God, connected to spiritual life. We're just a blessing, angelic. So.
Trendsetter, I like that. Jyairrah?
I would say Black women are magic. I say that because even just getting on the Zoom with all of you guys, like I instantly feel safe. And it's just like we're undefinable. Like you can't put a tag on us or put a price on us or put a name on us. You know what I'm saying? And you don't understand what we are. I feel like that's what we are in this world.
I'm gonna read your words: phenomenal, versatile, brilliant, spark, warrior, nurturing, resilient, life-giving, grace, empowering, unapologetic, motivated, determination, trendsetter, magic, you rock, and you without definition. Those are that's just you brainstorming on y'all. Jyairrah, this comes up every year. During Black History Month, and we obviously go back to the beginning and we expose the class to things they'd never seen before. And we always ask them, what resonated with them. And of course, we went back to Kemet, and we went back to the ancient temples and so on and so forth. And one of the things that you said, in particular, just blew your mind about what you saw about those very early days when Black folks started roaming the earth, and particularly about women. You remember what you said? What you saw? how they were treated, how they were looked at.
Oh, like the heavens?
Well,
Black
go
women
ahead,
were the
explain. So,
Oh,
yeah.
Black women were seen as the heavens. They were in ancient Africa, just the way Black women were uplifted and empowered by Black men, and even just like the symbols, and like we were just like, there was also another symbol of like the hippo, and like that symbolized like a pregnant woman, but just like the way we were uplifted, and how like when you look at the parallels and the juxtaposition between back then and today, how it's just totally different. We don't uplift our Black women how they did in ancient Africa.
And I remember that one photo where they were in the temples, and Lady Estelle has seen it because she's been to the temples. I just been in South Central, but she's been to the temple and she has looked up and saw the woman being looked up as the heavens. And you know, a lot of times I'll use the phrase from kings and queens to a couple of words I don't like using. There it is right there. She's got it right there. There's the papyrus. See, you can't get no more authentic than Street Soldiers. Look at that. Look at that, right? Okay, thank you, lady. So this goes to what we had, where we were then and where we are now. And this goes to the challenges that women face, are facing. I want to, that was the other half of tonight, is talking about the challenges that women face. And you can even add, I'd even ask if there's any that's been exacerbated by the pandemic. But despite being phenomenal and versatile and brilliant and all of these words, women face challenges. So I'm curious, is what would you say are, oh, Lady E, you want to jump in first?
Before you give them that question, that
Yes.
papyrus was the goddess Nut. The goddess Nut is considered the one who gave birth to all of life on earth. And so what you saw was a woman, and there was a hand touching her breast, because that's what nurtures life. And then the other hand was at her vagina, which is the bearing of life. And so all of life comes from the woman. And so they upheld her, they lifted her, and they referred to her as the goddess, because life comes from woman.
And so you got me going, because every time I see the Nile River and it flows upstream, and no river flows upstream, and it's in the shape of fallopian tubes, and you know, you sit there and you see the Ankh, and you be like, yeah.
So the Nile River flows upward. It flows from south to north. And as it goes up and it opens out. And the way the Egyptians saw that, it opens out, and where my little fingers, that's the fallopian tubes. And this part is considered the uterus. And so they just closed that. They closed that, and they left the fallopian tubes. And even though my fingers don't bend that far back, with the uterus here, you can imagine what came out of that was the Ankh. Oh yes, you see that. So you can see where it goes up and out, and that symbolized the uterus and the tubes. And they closed it, and they created an Ankh. And you know that the Ankh represents life.
The symbol of life. And I wear an Ankh around, and of course I didn't know all the symbols that went into, I can't get it off right now, but into wearing an Ankh. And when I learned, whew. So, you know,
so you didn't ask me.
Go ahead, lady, go ahead.
You didn't ask me. And I'm just gonna say that I with all that was said, and I agree with all that was said about the characteristics that define as we're possibly able, but we're really not able. to really come up with words that define what it means to be a woman. Because we can be, we transform, we transmute, we change, we are whatever the needs are. We do what we have to do, and we shape shifters, changing, and there are no words to describe who we are. They are undefinable, what we are and what we do. But I'm going to tell you what, when God decided to send his son, he chose a woman to bring his son into the world. He chose a woman. That's who we are. We can't say it.
Let me write that down too. Can't feel. With all of that, going back to ancient Kemet and looking at how women were revered and viewed, and I'm not going to talk about, well, let me just ask that question. What challenges do women face today? And I actually have some in mind, but I want to hear from you. If you were talking about the challenges that women face and continue to face, what would they be? What would they be? And anybody, Dr. Tate, let me start with you.
Okay. Wow. Well, what came to mind is, I think, Andrea, you talked about Ida B. Wells, you know, in the women's suffrage movement. And even then, and this is particular to Black women, even then, even though we participated in that, we still weren't allowed to vote immediately right after that. Black women's voice, or women's, just their voices being heard in the workplace, the health disparities that women face with regard to just heart conditions and fibroids, uterine fibroids. That's an epidemic within the Black community amongst women. There are a ton of things that we still face, and like Daija, you mentioned, we're like the swan and we're treading water underneath. And as you asked this question, Dr. Marshall, it's like I felt like I was coming off of a high to answer this question, because sometimes, you know, it's hard to have to face and look at all the things that we have, that all of our challenges on a daily basis. And sometimes, you know, a lot of times, I'll say for me, I have to forget these challenges and push forward into our grace and be who I was called to be in spite of all that. So I appreciate the question, but I have to say I was like, damn, you know?
And I hear you, Janelle. I was trying to come in before that question came out and just to kind of set it up a little bit before, you know, we go right to what challenges we face. It's like, come on now, you know, can we just kind of ease into that a little bit, you know? Yeah, I'm with you, baby.
I'll wait until you're ready.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm really because the challenges hit me, and I'm just wanting from you. But I get that. I get that completely, because they're there.
Right.
They're there.
Right.
They're there. Andrea, how would you handle that question?
Yeah, I echo the same sentiments as Dr. Green. That's certainly a loaded question, right? Because, you know, even as we celebrate Women's History Month as a Black woman, our experiences are very different, right? And you know, some of the challenges that we experience, oftentimes, you know, we have these data points that we rattle off every year about, you know, the medical field and, you know, legal and, you know, especially as it comes to pay inequality, right? We talk about the fact that, you know, for women get paid, I think it's like 79 cents on the dollar for every white male. And for Black women, I believe that it's 62 cents on the dollar compared to a white male. And a lot of times we talk about the same stat every year. And I went back and I looked, I'm like, okay, we talked about the same, similar stats in 2017. Okay, in the 50s, it was similar. And it's like, it makes me beg the question, at what point does this change, right? Because we talk about these same stats every year. And it seems like nothing is getting better, and no different than like we talked about with the women's suffrage movement. As women have began to advance, Black women are it almost feels like Black women are taking the crumbs, right, from the movements and the benefits that white women have had. And I think as much as we celebrate a lot of these movements, we still also don't acknowledge the experience when it comes to pay inequality, that Black men still make less than white women and white men. Right. So although we celebrate the fact that, or we acknowledge the fact that white men make more, which studies also show that Asian men and Asian women make more than white men and white women, but Black men still make significantly less than all four of those groups. So, I think just as well as it's important for us to acknowledge and not to give away and acknowledge Black men in this, but I think that I'm just such a proponent, and I celebrate Black men and Black women. And I think that, the challenges that we face, it's important for us to connect as a group and as a unit to make sure that as we're advancing, not just as individuals, as men and women, but for our people, right? I think that's so important. But I think being able to make sure that we get our money, because being able to succeed on an economic level is so important, and that's really our power. And so, I could talk all day about the challenges that women have and Black women have, but I'm just gonna stick to pay inequality and leave it at that.
Ashley, your thoughts on that? Coming off the high.
Hi. One thing that comes to mind for me is Black women. We are required, we enter situations that require us to be our true selves more than other people have to be. And what I mean by that is the situations that we find ourselves in require us to have such a level of reflection and motivation and determination and clarity. And other groups do not need to do as much of that mental work or emotional labor because they may not feel as much of a commitment and as much of a struggle with their people as we do. So what we go through requires us to get real, and then we have to engage with people who are not required to do that same level of work, and that creates a challenge for us.
Hold on a second, baby. Hold on. If I may, Dr. Marshall.
You may.
Let's just pause there for a second. Unmute, Ashley. Yes. That others are not required to do the emotional. What else did you say? Because say that again. We need to work on that a little bit. And I need to hear from others about that.
Well, I hope I can say it the same way, but
you can't say it the same way, but say it again, because that just gives us another perspective.
Yeah, so Black women are required to do a certain amount of emotional labor, reflection, that comes from their commitment and their determination to be with their people. Black women, we love and we nurture, we support, and many times to a fault. But the fault is not something that we're causing. The fault is the residual of people not having the same level of commitment that we have.
Okay, that's it. Don't have the same level of commitment. Emotional labor and commitment to be with our people. And we love them to a fault. But the expectation to have that same level of commitment, and if I might add, grace, understanding, and patience, isn't always there for them as it is for us. So let me hear from someone else. What are your thoughts about what she said?
Can I add on to that?
By all means. If we can do this, we're just gonna take 5 minutes, Dr. Marshall. I'm gonna give it back to you.
No,
No,
that's
because
what conversations are supposed to do. Go right ahead.
no, I definitely agree because like again, there's a thing called like Clubhouse. I don't know if y'all heard of Clubhouse, but they say that it's a safe space, but Black women speak about issues in their community, in themselves, and it's not a safe space anymore. But we have to listen to other people and their issues and their experiences, but we have to carry on the way for other people. But we can't expect that in return. We can't expect the same type of gentleness and just understanding and patience, like Lady Estelle said, for us. So it's almost really hard to like not have a safe space with other people. I can see we can have a safe space with us Black women with each other, but if it's with like the opposite and they're non-Black or Black men, I mean, no.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that, Miss Dell, sorry. And the reason why I say that, me and Dr. Marshall was talking last week, and I said, you know, Black people will be the ones who do stuff first, like the Black Lives Matter movement, and we're asking for liberation at this point. We're not accepting anything less, but it's because Black men and women were killed, where you have to see a whole segment of this happening day in and day out, and then you're expected to go to work the next day like nothing happened. And if you work in corporate America, nobody makes it seem as if they care. And so dealing with the fallout, like us as Black women, or me specifically as a Black woman, going into other places and being allies is one thing, and it's an amazing thing, but I'm not receiving the same allyship when it comes to me and my people. So for me, it's like, is it working, or are y'all using the fact that we're helping to get it done first just so you can get in the door? It's like, no. We all help, so let's help with this situation. Let's help with that situation. And me and Dr. Marshall was talking about the book Cass, but that's a whole nother thing.
Yes.
Shout out to that Black woman who created it, and the Black woman who does the audio on that. But yeah, that's my take.
Okay.
I'll add really quickly.
Yeah.
What came to mind as you all were discussing this topic for me was, we are, as a Black woman, we're expected to show up for everyone whenever we're required or requested. And when others show up for us, if they do, we don't get the same energy. They don't bring what we've brought, if that makes sense. So when, as Ashley was saying, you know, we're required to show up, you know, in a way of energy, high energy, and just being present. But when and if other people show up, you know, to support us, it's not always reciprocated.
The emotional labor and commitment to be with our people who we love to a fault. Others don't have the same commitment, and there is the expectation to show up when required or expected. But when it's our turn, it's just our turn. Nobody shows up. I just want to know any other thoughts about that in your experience, from your perspective. And be as succinct, because I know Dr. Marshall, we're going to hand it back to him in just a second. Dr. Marshall, not Dr. Cassie.
Well, I know, sorry, Dad. I was going to answer your question, but then this took me on a different route. So I'm just going to speak.
My question after this one.
Okay, I'm going to speak what's on my heart. I agree who made the comment that this could be the entire show, this one. But I think what was coming up for me is that, like, I feel like we often, as women, as Black women, have to come up with a self-protection. And so we can't always, we want some of our, sometimes, I didn't want to use the word feminine, but our more vulnerable sides, to, you know, our caring, our concern, and not just caring and concern, just like the softer parts of us that want to be held and loved on and really supported. And I think many of us feel that way, but we have been so mistreated and we don't want to go down that path again, or we feel like we have to protect ourselves, that there's like this tension between letting your guard down and figuring out who to trust, because you don't want to be hurt and you don't want to reveal that soft, vulnerable side, because you're not dumb either, right? And you know, so I feel like that's what's, that was coming up with me, and this is very hard. Sometimes, my fiance now, he'll always say, you always have to fight, Cassie. You don't have to fight. It's okay. Just say win. And I wonder, where does that come from? Why do I always feel like I have to fight for something? But I think that comes from all the times that you did have to fight for something. So it's just a hard line there. That's what was coming up for me in this conversation.
The challenge to the safety. Are we safe enough to be soft and gentle and kind and loving and vulnerable? We want to be soft because that's a part of how we're made. And then society says, you got to be hard. You got to be tough. You got to fight. You got to be strong. You got to, and then so bringing our authentic selves into the world that we live in, and all of the challenges, which is my segue, that come with that. Okay. All right. So if there's no one else, then Dr. Marshall, or is there anyone else?
Yeah, I just wanted to say what you said, what came to mind is when I think about being my authentic self, one thing that I've learned along the way, and this is a becoming for me, is that people are going to respond to me a lot of times, not necessarily. So the response that I get from people, or the action or what people do to me, is not always related to what I do. And the more that I accept that, allows me to be my authentic self, because people gonna do whatever they're going to do.
That's right.
And that was a big challenge for me in the workplace when I was working for a university. And being a Black woman and being my authentic self and and showing up with a smile on my face when, Trayvon Martin is getting killed. I mean, just the whole world is happening. So that's the response. It's better for me to be my authentic self. And it's been easier when I've accepted and learned that people, they're going to be who they're going to be. So, and that's a becoming. It's a becoming.
It is and I've been coming for a minute.
Yes.
And it is a process. It is a process. Okay, thank you. Was there anybody else?
All right, Dr. To chime in. This is, as I mentioned in the chat, I think this could be a whole nother show in itself, especially for Black women, right? It's partially acknowledging our challenges, but partially a venting session to a certain degree, because I think this is a universal experience that many Black women have, where we have to be so mindful, so cognizant of every little detail in which and how we show up, right? From our hair. There's no other race or group that has a law that says that you cannot be discriminated because of how you wear your hair in the workplace, from how we dress, to our body types, right? And how we show up. I've been told in the workplace that I'm not being assertive enough, but in the same vein, I've been told that I'm too aggressive, right? It's almost like there's never this balance of feeling as if you're good enough, feeling as if you can show up as your authentic self. And to Dr. Green's point, it's something that I've had to learn to a certain degree, basically just showing up and saying, this is who I am, right? And being so comfortable in my skin, but it took time. And it's still a work in progress. I don't have it down pat, but to be able to be in a place where I recognize and to connect with other Black women, especially ones that I work with, mentors that are older, people that are coming up that I'm also pulling up and helping out. For me, that's my safe space, because I recognize that it's not just about me, that there's so many others that have this experiences, and us being able to validate each other, I think is a first step in being able to make sure that we can acknowledge this. And so I can go on and on, but I'm going to stop there.
So I'm just going to thank you, everyone. And I just need to make sure that we're clear that what we're doing is sharing our perspectives in response to the statement and comment. And as a Black woman, we have the right to express our perspective, our view, our thoughts, and our feelings, and it be seen as that and not a venting session. We're not venting. We are intelligent, college-educated Black women, and we have a right to have this conversation, and it is a conversation. Dr. Marshall. Dr. Joseph Marshall, back to you.
And for me, the challenges are real. I know you don't want someone to think about them because you got to keep moving, but they are real.
And that is the challenge, because we can do it, and when we do it, it comes up one way. And when somebody else does it, it's a different thing. And it's okay. And you got to know that no, we can, and call it what it is. And what gives me the power, and then I will stop talking, is it took me a minute. It took me a minute. And I mean, it took me like I was not 40, I was past 40. At 50, my historical anger hit like this, bam. And the first thing I want to do is, I've got an expletive for you. In fact, I've got about 5 or 6, and they're coming out like that. And I need to stop and pray. All right, Jesus, hold me down. And remember that not only am I college educated, I am ordained. Let me pause, hold on, because see, my counterpart will come in and say anything, any kind of way. And I've got to do the dance. I ain't dancing because they're not playing Frankie, Beverly, and Maze. I'm going to have a different conversation. And if you can do it, guess what? So can I, with the same grace, the same power, and the same clarity. All right. Now that was a vent. Dr. Marshall.
One of the things, and it may have been covered, I heard health disparities, and Cassie, your degree is in women's studies, and you teach women's studies and women's health. I don't, maybe if you want to add anything specific to that, I know that's your work. Do you have anything to say about that, or?
I really don't. And because Mrs. Stell has just taken me down a path, I was like in the time being, could listen to her forever.
It's Women's History Month.
I mean, there's so much to say about that, but I'm just still in awe of everything that was just spoken.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. No, that's what these conversations do. They have a life of their own. Daija, do you want to add anything to challenges that women face, or any of you? Because I have one that I haven't heard, and I like your reaction to it. I'm going to throw it in there, but go right ahead.
I do, yes. There were things that I was thinking about as everyone was speaking, and I was trying to find a way to link the conversations together.
Sorry.
No. There's nothing wrong. There's no need to apologize. Black women don't need to apologize. That's one thing we need to do in 2021 is not apologize.
Okay.
That's something that I feel like we really should do. And everything everybody was saying was really resonating with me, because when you first asked the question, Dr. Marshall, I was like, respect. I still think that is something that Black women still struggle with. Malcolm X said the most disrespected person in America is the Black woman. And I honestly still feel that today. It doesn't matter what we do. It still seems like there's like this backhanded compliment associated with it. Like, oh, you did this, but, and it's just like, no, but, no, and, no, however, like I did this, period. Like, why can't it just be that? And I find myself, I'm struggling sometimes. Am I like, when I'm in treatment team conferences, when I'm with other psychiatrists and other disciplines and other medical doctors in the room, and they ask a question, I start to speak, and the white psychiatrists start to speak over me. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to pull a Kamala and be like, I'm speaking, I am speaking. But it's not until I'm sorry, I have to, because this just happened last week, and it really is I'm still upset about it. We had a patient in the room, young Black man, who was just talking, and I kept trying to ask a question. The psychiatrist kept talking over me. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna let you talk to this patient. And it wasn't until the Black patient was like, they don't care about Black people at Napa. They're all racist. Then the whole room turns and looks at me. And I'm like, oh, exactly. So now Dr. Foster can speak because the Black man is saying that y'all are racist. Okay, cool. I will speak, but not because of the reason why you think, it's because I actually have something to say. So I think that it's not until they're in trouble where they're like, hey, Black women, can you save us? And it's always that way. It's just like, we're in trouble, call the Black women, because the Black women will come in and save the day. Even Biden, listen, Black women got Biden into the White House, okay? Stacey Abrams, my Spelman sister, I had to throw that out there. They flipped Georgia, so it's just Black women always show up, but nobody ever really shows up for Black women. It's just like, you just take everything and then walk away and act as if we didn't just get you here. So I think that respect is a big piece. And even just in the department at psychology is very white. It's a very white field. And 2 Black women psychologists we took on the task of educating our department on Black History Month. And it was just frustrating. And at the end, we said, as Black women, we did it because nobody else would do it, but we're not doing this next year. Why is it on us? And then after we vent or we express our feelings, then there's like this white guilt. And now we're in the position to comfort. So it's just like, our job is never really done. It's like, we're vulnerable. And then now you're feeling some kind of way. And now we have to step in and help you feel comfortable. That's just my 2 cents. I'm gonna go ahead and mute myself before I get started again. So that's all I have to say.
So I'm gonna throw mine out. And because I haven't heard it, and it's probably the one that, out of everything that bothers me personally, but let me just read this the most. This is the thing I saw on the internet, and this says this is the reality of Black girls. Amanda Gorman describes racist run-in outside her home. Everybody know Amanda Gorman, the poor Lord who spoke at the inauguration. Amanda Gorman, the 22-year-old poet who spoke at President Biden's inauguration ceremony, said that a security guard tried to keep her from entering her Los Angeles home earlier that night. Something she says is an everyday reality for Black women and girls. A security guard trailed me on my walk home tonight. He demanded to know if I lived in the building because you look suspicious. I showed my keys and buzzed myself into the building. He left no apology. That is the reality of Black girls. One day you're called an icon, the next day a threat. And a threat, in a sense, and then she goes on to explain, what she says, yeah, he was right. I'm a threat to injustice, to ignorance, equality, and so on and so forth. I'm gonna take it a little further than that. Mine is safety. And I didn't hear you say that, but that's the one and I'm talking, when I talk safety, and Mrs. Taylor knows I'm talking worldwide safety. And I get this in a lot of the comments that you have made over the years in the Leadership Academy at the class, to walking home at night, and being messed with. One of the girls in the academy just now said she was in the store and some man came up and said, I offer $10,000 for you when it comes to human trafficking. When I'm looking at girls being kidnapped in Nigeria, and safety. Is that one of those things that you don't want to think about? That's it. Go ahead, Jyairrah. I think you got your hand up as soon as I said that.
Yeah, because this is what I was gonna say. I was gonna talk about the over-sexualizing of young Black women in our communities. Also, I recently just had an incident where I don't know if you guys know 100% College Prep, but I usually walk to 100% College Prep. But on the day that this happened, it was like last week. I was dropped off, and my mentor wasn't there yet. And a man, he rode by and he looked at me. And so I sat on the steps in the direction where he couldn't see. And then 2 minutes later, he doubled the corner again. And then he went down the street and made a U-turn. and I was sitting on the steps, and he parked like right in front of where I was sitting, and he was trying to talk to me. And I got on the phone with my mentor, and I was like, "Can you hurry up? Like, this dude, like, he's trying to talk to me." Like, I put my head down, everything. And he was just still trying to talk to me. Like, he sat there, like somebody was behind him. He wouldn't let the person like go. Like, the person went around him. Like, nobody said nothing. Like, it was really weird. And so my mentor pulled up and told him to go. And my mentor was like, "This is why I don't want you walking, because like I usually walk there." So he was like, "I don't want you walking down the street." But it's just crazy. Like, I've been like called at from a car, like, "Hey, what's up?" And I'd be like, "No, like, I'm good." And people just, like, they keep it pushing. And I'm the baby in my family, and I have brothers. So like, I never went anywhere without my brothers. But now that like I'm 17, about to be 18, like, I've been doing things on my own. So when that happened to me, like, I was really like, this did not just happen to me, like, in my neighborhood, like where I live, where I'm from, like, like, it was really weird. And I just think like it's so unsafe. And I think we masked the unsafety with just like, "Oh, I'm gonna be okay," or like, "Oh, I'm gonna make it." And I feel like, but that moment really scared me, because the dude wouldn't leave. Like, even after I went into the building, like, he wouldn't leave. So I think it's a reality that I face, and I think it's a reality that all Black women face, especially young Black women.
Okay.
I mean, I can add to that.
This.
Oh,
go ahead, Cassie.
Well, first off, I'm so sorry that happened to you, and it's a sad fact that in your own community, you can be made to feel unsafe by someone, like a man threatening you. I think it's way too common, and has certainly happened to me as well. What I was just gonna add, though, I mean, I think this has like historical legacy that women were seen as property at one point. Husbands like, owned their wives. Husbands could rape their wives, like that was legal. There's like this historical context that we were not seen as, individuals with the same autonomy and respect. And so I think what happens is, in a lot of situations, is this idea of ownership, because it's rooted in the patriarchy. And I think the other thing, Dad, you brought up around COVID, I was just going to add, like, one of the things, there's so many things that got exacerbated with COVID, but one of the things that came out was that calls to domestic violence, intimate partner violence hotlines skyrocketed during the pandemic. And again, that's not necessarily all to women, but the vast, majority of that has been. And I'm like, what? That's just horrifying. We went through a quarantine, and one of the first things we saw was people are not safe in their homes. So it's horrifying.
And I guess what I'm asking is that one of the things, I'm going back to Janelle, because I mean, that really triggered it for me, that you don't want to, domestic violence is huge. I remember when Mr. Stell was in South Africa, and I know what goes on in South Africa, right? The highest incidence of reported rape is in South Africa. And she's down there by herself, right? Walking through places by herself. And I'm like, normally I could get in the car and drive somewhere, right? 3,000, higher 8,000 miles, but that was a reality. That's a reality. And I guess what I'm asking is, I didn't hear it, but I hear it in that way when the conversation really goes that way. Because me, safety is basic, that's basic. And is that something that you just live with, or that's number one, to be safe. I see, and again, let me say, all these kidnappings and human trafficking and female genital mutilation and all of that. Is that something, how do you deal with that?
Well, I think it's definitely an issue. I think it's so much an issue. It's something that we're taught from a very young age. Like, I look at my daughter, who's 4, and I don't talk to her about these things, but they are crossing my mind. How am I going to prepare her to be self-aware, to be aware of her surroundings, to know how to walk down the street properly, to be conscious of what she has on, to be conscious of, how she looks at someone, and I think these are things that we pick up from, or I'll say out things that I picked up from other women in my household. They may not have said, oh, well, when you walk down the street, look at a guy this way, but I've seen how they, how they have done it. And so definitely, I think it's so much of an issue. It's probably something that we overlook as women because it's something that we deal with all the time.
That says a lot. You deal with it all the time. Anybody else want to comment on?
Yeah, and go ahead, Ashley. I'll go after you.
Because I'm gonna have to get off because I have an early call tomorrow morning. I remember standing at Lane and Paloux, and I was waiting for the bus to get to work because I was working at Girls 2000, and I was shot with a paintball gun. And I just remember being in so much shock, and I'm like, oh, what was that? And then I see the ball, and the pain, and there were some guys behind me. And with that safety comes that disregard piece. First is the disregard, then it's a safety issue. And I remember turning to the brothers behind me, and they're like, well, at least you didn't get shot by a real gun. And I was like, you don't want to hear at least when your brain is in a state of shock. But how I dealt with that was I had to get a car because I was on the bus. But just that hypervigilance, and again, it goes back to us having to be way more aware of our surroundings, and other people don't, so, right. Or they do, but not as much as us, because the guys behind us may say, well, at least it wasn't a real knife, or whatever it is, Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being
grateful
here.
for all of you.
Thanks, Ashley. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I agree. What we have to deal with, we are always looking and sensing and listening and paying attention, because I don't trust, I can't say we, I don't trust that I am going to be looked after by a Black man or a white man. If I'm someplace and there is something threatening happening, I don't trust that the brother will look over and see this little old lady and think she needs help. Or if I'm standing there and he says, sister, you can come on and go. No, I see the brother step right in front of me and I'm next. And they'll step right in front of me. I don't have that. That's not been my experience. And when it happens, I am absolutely blown away. And I have been threatened by both Black men and white men, and put in positions where, it's nothing but the grace of God, by both Black men and white men. So the responsibility of making sure I'm safe has been mine. And I look forward to the day, and I want you to know I've been around for a minute, where a Black man sees a Black woman, sees me, and thinks, I need to make sure she's okay, because that's my sister over there. I look forward to that.
I look forward to it too, because at this point, I don't know how to really handle it, because if I say something, they might kill me. If I don't say something, they're going to keep following me and keep harassing me. So it's just either way, we're still being put in violent situations and we're just not protected at all. So.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. I definitely think that that's something from me and my perspective that I try to overlook. What comes to mind for me is survivor mode. That's why I believe that Black women are always, we're on alert. We have to be, because right. We don't feel safe. We don't feel protected. And I share, and I'm sure every woman on this live can say that they have had an experience like Lady Estelle, where they've been threatened or made to feel unsafe by both a Black man and a white man. I know I've definitely had that experience too, but survivor mode comes to me as much as I try to shake that. It's just something, it's just in my makeup because of where we come from or where I come from, and just the things that have happened throughout my lifetime to let me know that I am responsible for my safety.
Yeah, and again, for me, I'm looking at it on the world situation. And when I see Boko Haram and what they have done to the girls in Nigeria, and I see what happened, to women in Pakistan and India and all these things. I mean, that's basic. Safety's basic. Safety is number one. And so yeah, I threw that in there because I haven't heard it and I understand. I get why. It's funny because this was a little talk that went into this whole, when now was near the end of the show. Let me just ask one, is mental health on the list? I'm just curious.
Yes, Dr. Mark, it is. This is Evangela. So
I think it ties into everything else, but go ahead.
Yes. So my list was safety, because I was thinking about all of the stuff that's going on when it comes to women, but how women of Congress do not feel safe because of what happened January 6th. Black women who do not feel safe in their offices, but also I think it was Andrea or Daija who spoke on the Crown Act. All of a sudden we have to get permission to wear our hair the way it grows out of our scalp. Unbelievable. When I said wellness care, mental health, I also said self-care, because one of the things that a lot of us as women do, we care about everybody else, which all of these beautiful women have said. We care about everybody else, and most of the time we're not on a list, or we're the last one on the list. Excuse me. And we have to reverse that. We need to be number one on the list in order to take care of other people. But you have to take care of yourself first. So self-care. And yeah.
Okay, I have two things. Cassie, you had something, and then I have a question. I know you were about to say something because you were unmuted and you leaned forward, and then, do you remember?
I know, and now I don't quite remember, but I think it was I think it was the juxtaposition of what Dr. Marshall was saying, of like where we started the conversation,
okay,
and where it ended. Like, how is it that what was coming up for me is that, again, historically in our society, in our world, women were not valued as much as men. Men were seen as more valuable, and I think it's so crazy because we just went through the whole, we are literally the foundation of all living things. Right. I'm just going back to the, the fallopian tube. Right. Like, it's the juxtaposition, right? Foundation of life.
Right.
But seen as less than.
Right.
And it's like, how does that? So that was my comment.
Okay, thank you. And Evangela, but what you were saying was so powerful, which leads me to the question. If we could just think about this, to leave everybody with something, what things we do, what things do you do to encourage, strengthen, and Evangela, you already got us set up for this, to encourage, strengthen, and empower ourselves, because these challenges and the things that we face, they don't go away. Yet we are here. Yet we have Dr. Green. We have Dr. Marshall. We have Dr. Foster. We've got Dr. Branch. We've got Dr. Evangela. We've got the upcoming Dr. Jyairrah. Okay. We've got we've got Shaman Rihanna. Hey. And we still move forward. We've got Dr. Beasley, and we still move forward. What is it that keeps you, enables you, empowers you to move forward? Despite all that we know lies ahead. So
great.
Think about, and be succinct. A word, what I do, what, I think, for me. Okay. And we can, if that's all right, Dr. Marshall.
That's perfect, because we got to leave folks with something and we got to wrap it up. Absolutely. So, Dr. B, Andrea, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, For me, what drives me is just understanding that it's bigger than me, and that I am a part of the puzzle. As I mentioned earlier, I have so many incredible women that have uplifted and pulled me up, and there's so many women that when I come across, especially younger women, that I'm empowered to help pull up as well. And for me, one of the things that I do to make sure that I'm okay, because first things first, like Evangela says, I have to make sure I'm okay, and making sure that my cup is full before I give out. And so one of the things that I started doing most recently is being more intentional, setting up my schedule at work so that I can add more time in for myself each and every day. And I ask myself, in those moments where I have more time now, what right now in this moment would bring me the most joy? And I do it.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Foster?
So for me, I know that I just have a passion and a purpose that still is yet to be fulfilled. And I was given this gift that I have to somehow change this prison system that has not changed. So I know that with that, there's going to be obstacles and hurdles to overcome. So in order to endure those and be able to hop over those and pick back up if I stumble, not fall, I have a self-care room in my house. And that is my sanctuary, my peace, where I go to relax and unwind. And I definitely visit Napa frequently, and I go to the spa to recharge and relax.
Okay.
Got it. Dr. Green?
Yes. So what motivates me? So I believe I have found the thing that I would do, even if I wasn't getting paid for it, even if I never made any money. I found what makes me happy in work. And that's, and I believe it's what God has for me to do here. Even if I just help one person, it gives me so much joy. So that's what motivates me. And how I stay motivated and how I charge myself. So I do a lot of mental exercises before I get out of bed. I write my affirmations on my mirror and say that they're there. I try to run every day, not for me, it's to release that serotonin. I also practice, I've changed my nutrition habits so that I can have less anxiety and have more energy to do the things that I need to do. And I'm always, like I said earlier, listening to something or having something in my ear that's going to motivate me, whether it's on an audiobook or YouTube. I gave you guys some of those names. And so throughout my day, throughout my morning, I start my morning early so I have to get that in. So, yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Green.
Cassie, Dr. Marshall?
Motivates me are my ancestors and all the people who've gone before and who never had the opportunities and advantages that I have. So I feel like I'm not some of their dreams. And also trying to live up to what my parents believe me to be and wish for me. I'm always striving to be the image that they see of me.
Thank you, Cassie.
Evangela?
I just said using my voice, doing affirmations, acting, and also drinking better teas. I'm working on tea. Me and Miss Stell was talking about tea the other day. And I was like, I need to get back on my tea game. So I got some different teas, ginger, and this new one that came from a Black-owned business. Also supporting my Black-owned business a lot this last year has been very important and vital to me.
Malorie?
Yes, my list: prayer, God, staying connected with like-minded women. And Lady Estelle, you are one of my motivators as well. You are very vital in my life. So I just appreciate you a whole bunch. So yes. And all of my Alive and Free family, I cannot forget y'all. I love y'all.
Jyairrah, new to the family.
What motivates me, I have a chalkboard behind me, and it's I write on it, I draw on it. It's just a visual representation of me, my pain, what I go through, what I'm feeling. I also have quotes all over my wall and canvases. So Maya Angelou said that someone was hurt before me someone was wronged before me, raped before me. She says a lot, and then she says at the end, yet someone survived. You can do anything you choose to do. And that's what I wake up to every day. And that's what motivates me.
Brianna?
What motivates me is myself, because everything that I've been given, everything that I've done, all this spiritual work has been done by me. I take myself on dates. I've been doing this for like, I don't know.
I like that.
Taking myself on dates. Even with this whole COVID thing, I still take myself on dates. I live alone, so like every Friday I have a thing where I get cute. I cook dinner for myself. I have my favorite wine and watch some movies, you know, just to spend time with myself, but also giving myself what I want and what I need, because I know I'm the one that knows myself more. So, and to mind my business.
Lady Estelle?
I sing, I pray, I laugh loud and long, I cuss a little.
Sometimes a little more than a little. Thank you all. Thank you all. This has been, this is, wow. This is, and some of you have had to leave early and you stayed anyway. So thank you. I think this is a great discussion to kick things off for Women's History Month. I know I plan to do a show specifically on Black women and mental health because that's come up several times. So
can I just say one more thing?
Yes, ma'am.
I just want you to know that I see some amazing women. I remember, Cassie, when you were 13, Dr. Marshall. And then I look at Daija in that little bobtail skirt, Andrea, bless your heart, sitting in the classroom right up front, and then you leave the room and you be out talking to somebody. I'm like, girl, we need to get her back in here. Evangela, my favorite kid in the class, Dr. Janelle, before you were Dr. Janelle. Rihanna, when you were first time on and here you are today. You probably had a dream, and then Jyairrah, you're at the beginning. You're at the beginning where they were. And here they are. I need you to see them, and I need you to remember who you aspire to be, and look at these young women and where they started and where they are now. They are making history just like you are. Making history, making a difference. Malorie, I remember when you came to the club and she wants to go to college, baby, you got to show us something, and you did.
For sure.
And you did. So you women, oh my goodness, it's just wonderful to see you and to see how you've grown. And it's even more exciting, Jyairrah, to see where you're going to be this time when it's your time. I just needed to say that, because sometimes we don't always say what we see. You are phenomenal. You all are phenomenal women. What a way to start off Women's History Month. Thank you for doing that.
Love you.
And the story continues to be written for all of you. So thank you. Thank you for tonight. That's all I got to say. Just thank you for all. Love all of you, obviously, you know that, and just keep on doing what you're doing. It's that simple. All right, and get some rest. Okay. All right, y'all.
Love you all.
Love you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.